So we're here to collect some stories and things that are in celebration of David Hoose and to capture them. And so let's start with you, Susan. So can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the Cantata Singers and how you first met David, and something about the early days of the Cantata Singers?
So I auditioned for Cantata Singers in September of 1988. And I know that date because I was pregnant with my second child, my son, Timothy. And I just remember being very nervous at the audition, and he had that Schutz piece that we had to sight read that did a funny little thing in the middle, which I don't think very many of us sight read accurately. But then he went back and gave us another chance to sing it, sort of learn it. And I think that was indicating that, yes, we could learn the music. Even if we couldn't sight read it, we could pick it up quickly. That was the thing that, kind of threw me. My first concert was not that November because my son was born October 1st and I wasn't ready to jump into rehearsals right away. So my first concert was first night, I believe, 1988 to 1989. And since then I've sung almost all of the concerts. There have been several seasons where I took one or two off. We went through a time where we were asked to sit out a concert or two so that we could overlap and have more personnel. Funny stories from behind the scenes. There's one that became sort of infamous, I guess. David popped a button or something, and I happened to have a sewing kit with me. So in the green room, I was mending whatever it was he had ripped or broken or popped or whatever. And then for concerts afterwards, if anybody ever had a problem, it was, oh, go see Susan. She's got a sewing kit. Susan will have this. I remember he had a tuxedo that he wore for years and years and years that had a white vest, and the lapel just kept flapping up. It just wouldn't stay down. And I took and tacked that one time just because it was bothering me. And I said, let me tack that down so it won't do that. So I always had a little needle and thread, and that was necessary for fixings every so often. Funny thing is, I'll just say one other thing. It was Paul Rehmeyer who invited me to audition. I had never been to a Cantata Singers concert. He had talked about it. He's in the church choir that I have sung in also for many, many years, as I was telling Dwight. 43, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah, I started when I was in college. So Paul said, I was going to be home with my two boys at this point, and he said, why don't you come and audition for Cantata Singers? You have a nice light voice that I think David would really like. And I think, it would give you something to do. And I was like, you're right. This is what I need. Screaming, at children for a couple of days for all the hours, and then, go off and sing Bach would be lovely. And it was a wonderful escape and a wonderful balance to do that. And so it was Paul Rehmeyer who invited me to audition. And I'm so glad he did. And he drove in. I would drive to his house and we would carpool into Cambridge because I had no clue how to get into Cambridge and how to park. And we were singing at, rehearsing at the Howard Memorial Church. And the first time we had to go to Jordan Hall, I got completely lost. I had no idea where I was. And I completely missed the whole warm up because I was driving in by myself, and arrived in absolute tears, a total wreck because I didn't know where I was. And I finally happened upon Jordan Hall by accident and, came in and managed to get calmed down, but I missed the whole warm up, which was very embarrassing. So anyway, good.
Well, I had been doing public relations for the Longing School of Music in the late 80s. And I'd been doing that for a number of years, other places as well. And I'd been aware of Cantata Singers because I was always watching the reviews in the Globe and in the Herald. And so I was aware of Cantata Singers and had a connection that probably doesn't bear going into. And then went out of town while my husband went to law school, and was still aware that Cantata Singers was the group that was doing a lot of really great stuff, and slavery documents happened while we were out there. And so I knew that when I came back and I was going to get back into, oh, interestingly, I sang in and was the president of the Ann Arbor Cantata Singers while I was out there. But anyway, so I knew that I wanted to join Cantata Singers when I came back. And so I was lucky enough to be able to do that. So in the fall of ’93. And I ran across the first program I was ever in. And of course, I don't remember what it was now, but it's really been my musical home, and not only with David, but with all the other programs that his leadership has made possible, the classroom cantatas and everything else. Dwight, you were on the board for a very long time too. One of the things that I think that we have been privileged to hear is David's telling us before every concert what to look forward to in the concert, and before every season he would tell us, like, when we were about to vote on the budget for the season, we would get this really great eloquent, interesting explanation of what the program was and how the whole season was together, a journey, why he selected the pieces. That was really a special privilege of being on the board to hear all of that. Another thing that I always think of when somebody says that, what are some of the funny stories or whatever, this is just something that would always I don't know, it happened again and again and again. We'd be singing something and I'd be putting my all into it, and really I thought being incredibly musical, and I felt good about what I was doing, and never failed. David would always say, oh, let's not do it the cheap way. You don't want to do something, or not cheap, or not the
Legit.
This is leading into a good thing. He always wanted to do it not the usual way, something that was more, the music speaks to people in different ways, and music speaks to David, or David brings out in music things that other people don't, and he can hear things that really make it just unique, and every nuance in a small part comes together as a whole, so that it's a real musical journey with so much attention to the text and exactly how we should be saying things. And one of the things that I wrote down the other night was, why do you think he is making us repeat this 3 times if we aren't supposed to mean it more every time, and that kind of thing. So it's just I've been stretched so far, and it's been great.
Going back through all the programs with Carrie's guidance on the archiving project, I've been doing a lot of the linking. That was one of my little projects. But going to the actual storage room and sorting through all that paperwork, and it was really, really neat. I enjoy that kind of work, and I enjoy seeing a lot of those archives. In my own personal scrapbooks, I probably have all of the programs and flyers and everything that we performed, and it's just been such a highlight of my entire life, my entire musical life, that any one of those concerts. I think a highlight for me was probably doing the Messiah, the full, complete Messiah under David, was quite an experience. Many people remember our performance of Friede auf Erden the first time. unfortunately, I actually came down with the flu between our dress rehearsal and that performance. So even though I went through all of the rehearsals, and I remember bawling my eyes out during those rehearsals, I actually did not sing that performance, even though my name is in the program. But I was sick in bed for that concert, unfortunately, which is one of my sad memories. Yeah, each concert had something special. I wish I could have heard his projection of what it was going to be to understand the whole season. My husband, rest his soul, was quite a music theorist and historian. He had his PhD in music theory from University of Connecticut, and he was extremely well-read and knowledgeable, particularly about Bach, but about everything else. He was an organist and played everything. And there was a cantata, and I can't remember which one it was right now, but when David announced that for the season, my husband pulled it out of his library and said, "Oh, this is really cool." And when we got to the first rehearsal, David said, "I'm sure nobody knows this cantata." And I said, "Guess what?" My husband knows it and said it was great and is very excited to hear you present it. And Chuck always said, coming out of all of our performances, he always learned something different that David did with the music and from the music. And he said it was always intelligent and infectious, and also sensitive, spiritual.
Well, the first one that really, my first St. Matthew Passion was with cantata singers, and Sandy Sylvan was singing Jesus. And I just stood on that stage with all, with the whole chorus, and with those soloists, and with Sandy Sylvan, and with David, and all the orchestra members who played so beautifully. I just felt like I was incredibly lucky, because it doesn't get better than that. That was a pinnacle for anybody, would have been, to be on that stage. It was just amazing. And another season that I really stands out to me, because it was so varied, was the viol season. That one just seemed so creative. It was the first of the series series of seasons where we focused on a single composer. And we did that first concert, and it was a piece that nobody knew that Viol had written about Lindbergh crossing the ocean in a plane, and we did it in the Airplane Museum. And it just kicked that off like that, and it just kept going. It was just so much, and yeah, that was a very exciting year. And there were I still can't remember what this piece was. I'll have to look it up. There's a piece that was just for the women, and that was frightening. It was so good. So I love that one. And I love the year he did, this goes way back too, and this is a soloist thing. I got to sing in a trio with Gloria Raymond and Roberta
Yes.
Peters? No, isn't that I get confused.
Yes, I do too, but Roberta, we all know her, Roberta.
Roberta, okay. So one of the really great seasons I remember included a concert at All Saints, where we sang a lot of Elgar. So it was a cappella plus string quartet. And David had transcribed some pieces that must have been for orchestra for the string quartet to do. And there was the Elgar was just amazing to work on and to sing. And I got to sing a trio with Robbie and Gloria And it was Vaughan Williams that was one of those English folk songs that was about how my lover has died. And it was really, it was great to work on that with David and to perform it, because it really was one of the things that feels just felt really special, like a really special moment. And just so many other things, and the Rake's Progress, always the Rake's Progress. So that was amazing too.
When I think about those programs, and actually, Susan, I should probably do what you did, which was to actually go through the list of all the programs, because there are so many of them that are interesting and meaningful and different. Meiji, when you brought up the viol season, that was a fabulous season. And you know, it's very interesting and different. And then we had another season where we were working on things like Deerfield Massacre. I mean, who would have thought, you know? You know, and then doing the big works, you know, the Elijahs, the Messiahs, the whatever. And so it's been quite a journey with David. I mean, not just doing big pieces, but doing the a cappella pieces, the small pieces. And who would have ever heard of Zelenka? Right? And when I first heard Zelenka, I thought, this is really kind of square, you know, but then it just has something on its own. And you think about him writing about it at the time that he wrote it, and it's like, this is really kind of cool. So, you know, each part, I mean, you're jumping fifths and fourths and doing those things that seemed a little bit mundane, but when you put them all together and it's all overlapping, you get this harmonization that's really kind of cool. So very, very interesting. So we have David to thank for that kind of creativity and leadership and just vision to say in advance what it's going to be like. And so he had that all in his head. And I think that's one of the strengths that he brought to the organization, to have it in his head, to conceptualize it, to write it down in excellent program notes, and then finally be able to speak about it to the chorus. One of the things that I like when he does is he actually did it in rehearsal a couple of rehearsals ago, where he'll be giving us this intense rehearsing, and then he'll stop and he will talk specifically about something in the music or something that was happening with the composer at the time, or, you know, what they had for breakfast. I don't know how people know this kind of thing, but, you know, where they talk about, you know, he could have, you know, resolved this, you know, B flat minor seventh to a something else, but no, he added an A in it. And by adding an A in it, he knew that 3 pages later, he's going to be migrating to something else. And I'm thinking, wow, someone's actually thought about that. Now, chances are the composer has, but from the singer standpoint, to think that, wow, they actually do that. And I think that's amazing that David brings that level of thoughtfulness to us and to the audience. So
can I just say one funny thing? Were either of you in the group years ago when he used to make us sing individually? This happened, I mean, I'm so glad he stopped doing that. I don't know who finally got him to stop doing that, but it was terrifying. And I know that he didn't mean it to be mean. He was trying to hear how our voices sounded together. I probably like Llewellyn was, you know, pairing us with each other, but he was trying to root out, it seemed like he was trying to root out any imperfections. And he would go down the line and okay, you two sing and you three sing and now you edit and then now you two and now you just sing it. I was so petrified when he was going to come to me. It was a horrible experience. I'm so glad he stopped doing that. I had never, I think I forgot to say this, I had never been to a cantata singers concert before I actually sang one. And after singing it, I remember saying to Paul Rehmeyer, I would never have had the courage to audition if I had come to a concert. I would never have thought that I could be part of this group. Just wouldn't have had the, you know, any kind of confidence or, knowing that I wasn't a great musician. So, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think I remember him doing that a little bit at like Temple Sinai, was that?
Yes.
Yes, I think I remember him doing it. It was very, very nerve-wracking. Absolutely.
Yeah. David, you have absolutely formed me as a musician, and I also am so indebted to you for your humanity and all of that came across in rehearsals and performances. It's been a wonderful, lifelong journey with you. I feel so honored to have been part of this group and to have received your blessings. We love you, David.